Am I wrong for telling my coworker that I will report him after he announced my pregnancy during lunch break? I, female 33, have been working at this company for 4 years. I have great relationships with my coworkers, and one of them is Austin. Austin is incredibly sociable and easy to adapt with new coworkers. We talk about all kinds of stuff while of course keeping it professional. I'm married and recently found out I was pregnant, but only my husband knew about it. Haven't even told anyone in our families or friend circle. The other day at work, me and the coworkers were on lunch break and Austin was with us. We talked, then he suddenly got up from his chair and asked for everyone's attention for a minute. I didn't know what that was about until he loudly announced that I was pregnant. What? I was stunned, like mouth open, eyes not moving, just staring at him as he and the others rushed to congratulate me and flood me with well wishes and parenting jokes and advice. I was in utter shock and I asked how he knew and he said, "Remember when you gave me a ride the other day? I saw your pregnancy test on the dashboard." My first action was lashing out at him in front of everyone, asking why the hell he just shared a private medical information at my workplace. He said he was just sharing our joy with everyone else since only him and I knew. Other coworkers asked that I calm down, but I meanly told him that he was out of line and that I will be reporting him to my superior for this and stormed off while Austin just stood there. My female coworkers came to tell me how rude I was towards Austin's nice gesture and insisted I heard him and that I overreacted, especially for saying I will be reporting him since he was just sharing happy news with everyone and I was just being too sensitive. But I felt my privacy was violated. Plus, I wanted to tell everyone on my own terms. Still, my coworkers tried to talk me out of it. Not just that, but also apologized to him for lashing out like that. So, was I wrong for my reaction? Absolutely not. Who? This dude first. Okay, so there's a bunch of things wrong with this, right? One, it's no one's business to say something like that. That's completely out of pocket, right? Two, what if it wasn't your pregnancy test? Three, what if you were deciding to have an abortion? Okay? Four, what if you lost the baby? Like, people don't use their brains that God gave them. Like, why?
It kind of reminds me of 2 Corinthians 4:4 NRV. Scripture tells us the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ. And for me, I truly believe I was blinded because I couldn't see the light of the gospel. The sensation just wasn't there. Even when I claimed myself to be a believer, looking back at it, I wasn't a believer at all. Because to believe something means that, and I'm going to give the dictionary definition here, it means to have confidence in the truth. And I genuinely cannot say that I had confidence in God's truth and his commandments because I wasn't following him. I was following my own truth. And I have relied on my confidence in myself. So therefore, Satan had me blinded, being the reason why I couldn't feel the worship everybody else was feeling. I couldn't, when I would read the Bible, I couldn't understand. Like, the scriptures meant nothing to me.
Would I be the asshole for calling the police on my boyfriend after he let his brother and his family live in my holiday home without my permission? For context, I, 28 female, inherited a holiday home from my grandma some time ago. I never really use it as it's roughly a 5-hour drive from London, where I live. It's relevant to the story that the keys to the holiday home are on a rack with literally every other key to anything my boyfriend or I own. The holiday house has a security system hooked up to my phone. When it detects someone on the property, camera turns on and I can see them. My brother's boyfriend, 33 male, recently had his 4th child. Him and his wife currently live in a 2-bedroom apartment. So 3 days ago, they were both over at mine and my boyfriend's house with all their kids. We were talking about anything and everything. I was holding the baby. My boyfriend's brother eventually mentioned how I have my holiday home and how it has more than enough space for him and his wife to raise their 4 kids. My exact response was, "Yeah, but I'm not going to let you live there, so..." He went quiet after that and his wife started to collect their kids and their things. They left about 10 minutes after. My boyfriend hasn't said anything to me about the conversation, yet I'm feeling bad about my response because I know that they really do need the space. So fast forward to yesterday. I wake up for work and realize my boyfriend isn't in bed with me. Nothing out of the ordinary. He works from 8:30 a.m. When I'm finally able to walk out the door, I go to grab my keys and notice my holiday home's keys are gone. I look around for them, can't find them, so I call my boyfriend. First time he doesn't answer, second time he doesn't answer, third time he does. The conversation went, "Hey, have you seen my other house keys?" "Yes, I have them." "Cool. Why have you got them though?" "Grabbed them by accident. I'll return them when I'm back from work." I thought everything would be fine, so I continued with my day and went on to work. Midway through my workday, I get a notification from the house's security system. I open it and find my boyfriend, his brother, and his family all outside the door with a moving van in the back. I was fuming. When I got home, my boyfriend was already there, acting as if everything was normal. I started screaming at him, asking why the hell he'd move a family into my house without my permission. He tried to justify it and say he had to help his family. It honestly made me more angry. I told him that we were over and that he has one day to get his brother and his family out of my house, or I would call the police on them all for trespass. That all happened around 6 yesterday, 14 hours ago. He hasn't called me or anything, but I fully intend to go through with my threat. But I know that they're struggling right now. So would I be the asshole for calling the police?
Am I wrong for telling my sister not to name her daughter Chewbacca? My 24 female, sister 28 female found out she was pregnant 5 months ago. Recently, she and her husband 31 male announced that they were having a girl and finally decided on a baby named Chewbacca. I was more than a bit shocked, even more so when I found out that the name was the product of a long discussion and compromise between them. My sister wanted to name their daughter after our late grandmother Rebecca. Brother-in-law, who's obsessed with Star Wars, wanted to use a name from the movies. Before they knew they were having a girl, he wanted a son to name Chewie, which I still think is a bit odd, but it's not unheard of, so whatever. The problem is that he got attached to the name. Even after they found out they were having a girl, he didn't want to look for a female or gender-neutral Star Wars name. He still wanted Chewie. This is where it gets dumb. After arguing over it for a while, debating using one as a middle name, and sister pushing brother-in-law to choose a different name from the series, they somehow decided the best compromise would be just to mash the names together. When I asked my sister why she would agree to something so stupid, she got annoyed and told me that it's not like anyone would ever call her that. They'll use her nickname, Becca. I told her not to name her daughter Chewbacca and that she'll probably get bullied for having a name that sounds like a dog's name. She got mad and said her daughter is not a dog, which, obviously, and that what she named her child was none of my business. She asked me to leave if I was just going to badmouth her daughter. I told her I wasn't. I was just concerned about my niece getting bullied for having a stupid name. I think I did the right thing bringing up my concerns, but when I got home that night, I got a call from my mom telling me to drop it. She didn't like the name either, but said it wasn't our business and that my sister was right about just calling her Becca. I think both my mom and sister think the whole nickname thing is a clever way of getting around brother-in-law to get the name they actually want. But what if he insists on his side of the family using the nickname Chewie? But I don't know. Maybe the Becca thing will work? I know I'm sticking my nose in where it isn't wanted, but is it a bad thing to bring up the future problems of having the name Chewbacca, or am I really overstepping?
Storytime about my weird cellmate. So a little background information. I was 17 years old and a junior in high school. Yes, I was 17 and I was being charged as an adult. So I was in with a bunch of women. Well, one night after dinner, my cellmates and I are watching true crime shows. Because that's what you do when you're in jail. Watch true crime and CSI and all that shit. Anyway, so we're watching our shows and we see a new girl come in. She's got her blanket packed and we're all being warm and welcoming. And immediately, all of us could sense that something was off with this chick. Immediately, she starts going off about how she has a problem with the TV show we're watching. She did not like the fact that we were watching crime shows. She was like, oh my gosh, you guys really need to turn this off like right now. Low-key thought I was gonna see her on there or some shit. But yeah, she was just being super paranoid and we're sitting there like, girl, we have 10 channels. 7 of them are going to be true crime and 2 of them are the news. Oh, and the other channel was black and white movies and nobody wanted to watch that shit. So then I asked her if she unalived someone, life report part 2 about my weird cellmate. So like I said, I asked her if she unalived someone before, because only somebody who unalived somebody would be triggered over us watching true crime, but she completely ignores me. So the first night, something happened with this girl. It was low-key, very, very weird. Me and my other cellmates were like, this girl's weird as hell. Why is she here? And then the next day was the icing on the cake. So it was cleaning day, and we're all cleaning our stuff. And this girl just starts cleaning the weirdest things, like the inside of trash cans and shit that didn't need to be cleaned. And then it started getting creepy. Not weird, creepy. She put a paper towel over the drains because the voices were too loud. And then she would walk around the pod talking about death and carnage. And if you don't know what carnage means, it pretty much just means unaliving a lot of people. So this was super bad vibes, obviously. Now when you're in jail, of course people are going to ask what you're doing time for. And if you don't say, you're going to come off as sketchy. So we're asking this girl, hey, what are you in for? And she would not give us a straight answer. Well, while she was at a visit, we went through her things, like for part 3 about my weird cellmate. So like I said, we asked her what she was in for and she didn't answer, so we found that weird as heck. So then she went for a visit and we searched through her stuff and found her paperwork. We found out that she was in because she attempted to unalive her husband, in which he got a restraining order. So at this point, we're like, this is weird as hell and she needs to go. Like, she gotta go. So now the entire pod comes together and every single one of us wrote a letter pleading the staff to get this crazy you-know-what out of our pod. We all folded them up into little paper kites and we sent them to the guards. We were ringing the doorbell like crazy and we told them what happened and no questions asked, she was gone.
Am I the asshole for calling out my kids' future stepmom for treating me like a surrogate? I, 29 female, dated a guy Joe, 30 male, for 3 months before he left me to go back to his ex Kim, 30 female. Right after we broke up, I found out I was pregnant, and now I'm at 24 weeks. I let him know, and he was ecstatic. Turns out his girlfriend had fertility issues and would likely never be able to get pregnant naturally. He has always wanted to be a father. Getting back together was out of the question for both of us, so he's still with his girlfriend. Joe was only allowed at the initial appointment because of COVID. We found out I was having twins. According to Joe, when he told Kim, she had a mental breakdown about her infertility and wanted to talk to me. I met them at their house, and Kim stated that she wanted to be involved in my pregnancy because she would eventually be the children's stepmother. She started telling me that I needed to do a home birth, that I needed to do formula feed so that they could have the babies half the week, that she wanted one boy and one girl, that she wanted the kid to call her mama since they would be calling me mommy. I shut her down and said I would make the best choices for my children and my body and left. Kim continued to be overbearing and texted me every day about my eating habits, exercise habits, and bitching about how her job wouldn't let her take maternity leave. At the virtual genetics counseling appointment, she attended instead of Joe and took over the whole meeting trying to talk about her family history, which wasn't relevant. When it came time for my 20-week level 2 scan, they allowed me one guest and Joe suggested I take Kim instead of him, which I refused to do. Joe did end up coming and he found out the gender because I wanted to keep it a surprise for me so we could throw a gender reveal party. I put a pregnancy announcement on my social media and then she put up an announcement saying that we were expecting twins, the non-traditional way, and how blessed she was. I was irritated, but I kept my mouth shut. Then she threw a gender reveal party and posted it on social media. I wasn't even invited. She also announced that she's having a baby shower. I commented on her post and told her to stop treating me like a surrogate, that the kids weren't hers, and that Joe didn't have any claim or custody of the kids until they are born. I then called Joe and reiterated all of this and stated that I would not be seeing either of them until we went to family court, that my mother would be my birthing partner. He and Kim and some of her friends and family are saying I'm an asshole, and her mother even called and insisted that I give her one of my babies like this is the Parent Trap. So, am I the asshole?
Am I wrong for getting mad that I wasn't invited to my ex-wife's wedding? My ex-wife and I were together for 7 years and we have 2 daughters together, ages 5 and 3. Shortly after the birth of our 3-year-old, we broke up in a kind of civil matter. A few months after our breakup, she met her current fiancé and they started dating. Once our divorce was finalized, a year after, they got engaged. Overall, due to the fact that I'm the father of 2 children that I have with her, and I've been in her family for 7 years, I have a pretty great relationship with her family, and I still get invited to family gatherings. I can tell my ex is not too happy about it, but she sucks it up for the sake of the kids and her family. They've been planning their wedding for some time now, and they just gave out invitations. I wasn't included. Our daughters were, but I wasn't. I contacted her family, mainly her sisters and her mom, and I expressed how upset I am that I'm excluded from the wedding, and I'm even more upset that they didn't do something about it. They said that it's not up to them, and it's the couple's decision, and they wish they had me there, but they don't want to piss off my ex-wife by going against her wishes. Later, my ex called me and scolded me for calling her family to complain and asked me why I feel entitled to an invite to her wedding. I told her that I still feel like part of the family, and it's weird that I'm invited to all these family gatherings, but excluded from this one, and I think we can be civil and supportive towards each other. I also feel like it will be a good thing for our kids to see us being so supportive, and me being in the wedding sends a good message. We are still co-parenting after all, and we have a decent kind of relationship despite our breakup, and I don't see a reason to be excluded since I'm still a big part of her life and we share 2 kids. She said I'm very entitled for this and that it's ridiculous how I got mad that I, as an ex, was not invited to the wedding and that she doesn't owe me that. So, am I the asshole? Why would you want to go to your ex's wedding, you weirdo? What? Co-parenting or not, that's no. Ew. No.
Storytime about why my aunt put me back into foster care. Yes, she put me back into foster care. So a little background information, I was 15 years old and a sophomore in high school. But whenever I was 12 years old, I was in a very abusive household. And I had 2 younger sisters. One was 11 and the other one was 9. Fast forward, all of us were put into foster care. I got placed into many shelters / group homes because of my behavioral issues. While I was going through all of this, my sisters were both in steady homes, so that kind of sucked. I mean, I was happy for them, but at the same time, I was going through hell. But eventually, my grandma and my dad passed away, so my aunt decided that she wanted my sisters and I. So she got her foster license, and the days leading up to whenever we were supposed to move in with her were absolute garbage. There was this one girl who was 19 years old. Her and I did not get along, and I was supposed to leave that Wednesday, but I didn't want to wait, so I decided that I was going to get myself kicked out in hopes that I would be able to move in with my aunt sooner. Like for part 2. Part 2 about why my aunt put me back into foster care. So like I said, I found a way that I was going to get kicked out, and it was by fighting this girl. And yes, I won. But fast forward, eventually my sisters and I move in with my aunt. And if you guys ever heard the phrase honeymoon, you probably think of a relationship, right? Wrong. I was actually shocked about how fast everything went downhill whenever we got there. Like, eventually my cousins just started being mean to me for no reason, while they favored my sisters. And when I say cousins, you guys are probably thinking they're around my age. No, they were actually in their 20s. Hell, one was even close to 30. Like, these were grown-ass adults beating on a 15-year-old. So eventually my cousins, my aunt, and I are fighting almost every single day. And the one day my sister and I got into an argument that eventually turned into us fighting. And my cousins love to jump in every fight that my sister and I have. Well, they jumped in this fight, and instead of helping break it up, they actually made it worse. The one was holding my leg down, and eventually I got it up and I kicked her in the face. And my aunt thought that it was my fault, so she sent me to father.
Moving on to prayer. Now, honestly, I'm the definition of praying without seasoning, y'all. Like, I honestly make myself mad sometimes when I pray about, like, the really shallow things, because I'm quick to throw a prayer up in the air. If I stub my toe or something, Lord Jesus, help me, I don't care, I'm going to pray. Like, even if I drop my phone or something, Jesus, I pray the phone not crack. Like, I pray the screen not crack. Like, I just be praying about small stuff, any and everything, because can't nobody else do it. You know that God can, and he will, especially for his little ones, his children.
I'm suing my friend because she kicked me out of her wedding for getting a haircut. For my friend's 3-day wedding, I had to buy 3 different dresses, including alterations and specific shoes, which totaled over $700. She also wanted specific hairstyles for each day. Unfortunately, starting in March, my hair started to deteriorate. Due to the health reasons, my hair was falling out in chunks, and in May, I made the difficult decision to cut my hair. I told the bride about my decision 2 weeks before the wedding, and she didn't say anything bad. The following week, she came over to my house, and when she was about to leave, she brought up something she was concerned about my haircut, and I told her it would look good even though I wouldn't be uniform with the other bridesmaids. The following day, I received this text message. After our recent conversations, I'd like to remind you of my boundaries. I've been very accommodating and graceful, but I can't allow you to disrespect me. As you know, my wedding has been something I've dreamt of for many years. My husband and I have invested a lot of money into the video and photos of this day, and as we reflect on this day and the further, we want to see our vision reflected in the memories. Since I asked each of you to be the bridesmaid in 2019, I've been very clear and communicative in my request. The timing of your decision to cut your hair and not income in advance is very upsetting to me. I would have felt respected if you had communicated with me more than a week prior to the wedding, so we could have worked together to find a collaborative solution. Your inconsistencies have concerned me, and while I sympathize with your health concerns, I'm not willing to compromise my vision to accommodate you or anyone else when you have informed me in advance and we could have found a better solution. Since this is something you can no longer fully commit to, I need you to please step down from participating in my wedding. This was 3 days before the wedding. I immediately sent her and her husband an invoice asking them to reimburse for the dress and shoes, keeping in mind that one of the dresses is still in her possession even though I paid for it. Neither of them replied, so I decided to take it to court. I was told I was inconsistent and selfish after I spent the past 2 weeks helping her plan the wedding shower. I worked with another bridesmaid to surprise her with the bridal shower after our bachelorette trip had to be canceled. I spent hours helping her out with wedding details. When she asked me to help her tone up before the wedding, I sent her a personalized workout program and even went with her to the gym to show her the ropes. When I agreed to be her bridesmaid, I was more than willing to oblige with what she had asked, even if at times it was a lot of time and money. So am I the asshole for taking her to court because she kicked me out for cutting my hair? Okay, hold on. Before you go, I want to talk to you guys about one brand and one product, which is my absolute favorite products right now, and I'm not over exaggerating that. I'm really, really excited to be working with Athletic Greens for this video. I have their products right over here on my desk so that you guys can see. I will also have their link in my bio, so if you click that, then you'll be able to check them out. But I love Athletic Greens. I actually just freshly rinsed out my bottle, so it's still kind of wet if you can't see, but I take these products every single morning. They are powdered greens that help out with your gut health. They provide you with a lot of energy, antioxidants, vitamins. They have helped me with my immune system as well. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm still kind of sick. I've been sick for 3 weeks, and I know that I've been lacking a lot of vitamins and minerals. So this has really helped my body feel a little bit better as I'm still recovering these last 3 weeks. So they have this product, it's called AG1. I have the 30-day individual supply packets, and I also have the individual scoops that are put over here in this big green canister, but they have all of these vitamins, antioxidants, minerals. I think they also have probiotics, which is so awesome. And I'm such a health fanatic. I'm super into fitness and getting my health right, and I always have tummy problems. So if you guys are interested in checking this product out, then please do so. I love Athletic Greens. They are so wonderful. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews, and you're really investing less than $3 a day into your everyday health, and that's basically cheaper than certain coffees that you can get. So instead of getting that morning coffee, why don't you just invest in your health with these superfood greens? They don't taste super healthy. Honestly, to me, it tastes like juice. I really enjoy them. If I love it, I'm really hoping that you guys will love it, and I hope that you guys will check them out and let me know what you guys think.
Am I wrong for telling my sister her rainbow baby isn't special? I, 27 female, have a set of twins, Ben and Betty. They just turned 6. My sister, 32 female, has Connor, who is 4. My sister and her husband lost their first baby due to SIDS. It was devastating for the whole family, and I was behind my sister 100% of the way. I couldn't imagine what it was like. Anyway, when she found out she was pregnant with Connor, we were all excited. The pregnancy went well, and Connor got a good bill of health. I love my sister and I love my nephew, but my sister is convinced that because he's her rainbow baby, that means he can do whatever he wants. Connor is incredibly spoiled and a brat. He throws fits to get his way, hits, kicks, cries, whatever it takes. My sister and her husband give him no discipline. He's their rainbow baby, so that is their excuse for his bad behavior. Their lives are to serve for whatever Connor wants. My twins just turned 6 and we had a small party for them. Everyone was having a good time except for Connor. He wanted cake, didn't like the games, wanted to watch TV, wanted ice cream now, didn't want other kids to touch him, and etc. Basically, the whole party, Connor threw a tantrum. The final straw came at present time. My husband went to get the gifts out of the living room only to find Connor had ripped nearly all of them open. My sister made excuses, saying he was just excited and wanted to play with my kids' new toys. I lost it. I told her that Connor isn't special, that he's a brat and he's been ruining the party since he got here. My sister immediately went on that he's her rainbow baby and he didn't mean it, and maybe I should have put the presents where he couldn't get to them. They were in the living room and the party was outside. No one was inside. I lost my temper. I know I did. This was my kid's party though. I said some nasty things to her. I told her that Connor isn't a baby anymore and he's not special, and she's raising a self-centered brat who will grow up to be a self-centered adult. She left the party and then my parents called. They said they understood my frustrations and everything about the situation. Then they said they still feel like I should apologize to my sister. Why? Because I have 2 healthy kids while she lost 1 and she's still having to deal with it? I told them no. My sister should apologize for how her son acted at the party. My husband and the guests who were at the party are on my side. My sister hasn't really spoken to me in a few days, just posted passive-aggressive things on social media, which I just blocked. So, am I wrong here?
Storytime. Is blood really thicker than water? Metaphorically speaking, of course. So a little background information. I was 16 years old and I was in 10th grade. And I had just started dating this guy that my friends introduced me to. He was extremely attractive, really smart, and really kind. Literally had all the traits a girl could want in a boyfriend. So him and I are talking for a while, and then we start dating, and we were amazing together. And my sister had just came back home from teaching in Thailand. Surprisingly, her and I got super close because we always used to fight with each other. And now we were inseparable. The only issue was she was 25 years old acting like a child. She always wanted to be at my boyfriend's house with him and his family. Weird, I know. Anyway, so she was always over there with them, and I thought that maybe she was just lonely. Wrong, of course. Now, of course, like any other relationship, mine wasn't perfect, but my boyfriend and I started having more problems than usual when my sister showed up. He was being super weird, and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. Like for part 2. Part 2, is blood thicker than water? Metaphorically speaking, of course. So like I said, my sister started spending more time at my boyfriend's house. I thought that she was lonely, but then my boyfriend started acting weird and all the signs pointed to him cheating on me. But I ignored it because I thought that him and I were in love like in the movies. And also, if I broke up with him, it would be like breaking up with his family because I loved them like my own. Fast forward, his sister ends up getting married and my sister and I were invited to the wedding. Fast forward, everybody gets drunk. We end up spending the night at his cousin's house. And something was off with my boyfriend. He wasn't really talking to me. He wouldn't touch me. He pretty much acted like he was done with me. Well, then there's my sister who was flirting and touching him like it was normal. Fast forward a month, I asked my sister if anything happened between them. And she goes, I think we slept together. So I confronted him about it. And he just laughs and he's like, it wasn't that serious. So I end up breaking up with him, and then I start finding unhealthy ways to cope, aka drinking. And eventually I got so lonely to the point where I forgave my sister. And then I started seeing this other guy. And he was amazing, like for part 3. Part 3, is blood thicker than water? Metaphorically speaking, of course. So like I said, I forgave my sister, and then I got a new guy. He was amazing, and then my sister started begging to hang out with us. Now, of course, you would have thought that I learned from the first time, but I did not. I just completely ignored the signs that God gave me that she was a bad person. Okay, I guess not a bad person, she just didn't give a fuck about my feelings. Well, the one weekend his parents went away and they needed him to house sit, so he invited me over to house sit with him, and then guess who tags along? My sister. I mean, I guess I could have told her that she couldn't come, but at the same time, I was trying to be a forgiving person, okay? And I thought that she wouldn't do this shit to me again. Well, I was wrong, because on the last night of house sitting, we all decided that we were gonna get drunk, and my sister made sure that I got more effed up than everybody else. I ended up actually getting alcohol poisoning, and I almost died, but she didn't care. She was too focused on sleeping with the new guy. The worst part of this is they started dating, and my mom was on her side. It's been 3 years, and I'm still trying to forgive her and my family.
Am I wrong for doing a background check on a guy before going on a first date with him? So I'm actually really curious to know your guys' opinion on this situation. Is it something that you agree or disagree with, or is it something that you would do? Because in today's day and age, it's really popular to do online dating. Most people have done it, whether you're using the apps or you're using any kind of websites, or even if you're just checking out people's social media profiles. You never know what a person is actually really about. So, with Public Data Check, you are able to do a full background check on a person that you may or may not know. As you open their website, you'll see that there is a public records notice where you can access names and aliases, address history, phone and email information, felonies and misdemeanors, social media records, and financial disputes. I personally think that all of this is very important to know because a person will not tell you that information outright. So, to ensure your safety and to take the very first step to making sure that you will always be protected, I recommend that you go to Public Data Check. The link will be in my bio. It's something that I personally use and I find very, very helpful, and I recommend for other people to try it out at least once.
Am I wrong for not accepting my sister's relationship with my ex despite her having cancer as a teenager? My 25 female father married my stepsister's 23 female's mom when I was 4 and she was 3. We've lived together for most of our lives in our family. She and I were extremely close. She developed cancer when she was 14 and was sick for about 2 years. During that time, my parents became understandably overprotective. They also asked a lot of me. I quit my extracurriculars so that I could get a job. The money went towards her medical bills, and so I could drive her to appointments. I didn't go to dances, and any fun activities I did needed to include her. I did almost all of this willingly, the exception being having to quit my high school volleyball team. I did throw a bit of a tantrum about that, but was swiftly punished. And I think having one emotional breakdown was pretty chill given the circumstances. Anyhow, I go to college and meet my ex, we'll call him Ben, when I was a junior. We fall in love, blah blah blah. He and I move in together when we graduate, so we've been living together for about 3 years. We were serious until July when I walked into my bedroom and saw him sleeping with my sister. I broke it off, tears were shed, he moved out, etc. My sister apologized at first, but then backed off. I thought she was going to give me space, but last week she called and asked if we could meet up. She told me that she and Ben were in love and were just telling me as a courtesy before they started posting photos online. You gave up your fucking volleyball career for her? Distraught, I left her in the restaurant by herself and did not pay my portion of the bill. She later Venmoed me asking me for the money. You can steal my man, the least you can do is pay for my food. Like common courtesy. She then told my parents, who called me to their house, telling me how disappointed they are in me for not supporting my sister's relationship with Ben. They brought up the fact that because she had cancer as a teenager, she never learned proper social etiquette and has a hard time meeting people. Oh my god, no! I don't buy this, in part because I've seen her socialize just fine, and since we spent a good chunk of the time she was sick together. That would mean that I should have had bad social skills as well by that logic. They then told me that if I don't accept my sister and Ben's relationship, they may have to go no contact with me. I reminded them that I'm also their daughter and they should understand my point of view, but they are adamant that this is about me being jealous of her. For the record, I am not jealous of her. I'm not upset that Ben picked her over me. I'm sad about the end of the relationship and do feel betrayed. But Lord knows that I don't want to be with a cheater. What I'm sad about is the fact that my sister chose Ben over me. That she slept with Ben knowing he and I were in a long-term committed relationship and continues to be with him knowing how much it hurts me. Now, no one in my immediate family is talking to me, and I'm getting messages from my aunts, uncles, and cousins telling me that I'm an asshole and a selfish bitch. So, am I an asshole?
This is a story of the time that me and my childhood best friend almost got kidnapped. Just a warning, this could be triggering. I was around 10 years old and my neighbor down the street was about 7. All I remember is that it was getting dark outside and my parents told me that I should walk her home. It was about a 3-minute walk. So we're walking out of my house and down the street a little bit and we see a car pull up to us. It was a regular sedan and it had tinted windows. I was a very paranoid kid, so I told my friend to turn around. The car continued to follow us walk back to my house, and a man pulled down his window and asked us if we needed a ride to where we were going. I immediately screamed and told my friend to run back to my house. So we ran back inside, told my parents, and my parents thought nothing of it. Mind you, I live in a pretty safe area, so I could see why my parents weren't that worried. I was also a very dramatic kid, but this wasn't me being dramatic. So we go back outside and we see that the car was pulled up another person's driveway, so we thought we were okay. I still told my friend to run. The car lights turned on and go down the driveway and tried to chase us, but we got home in time.
I told my best friend that her fiance was cheating on her and she did not believe me. Disclaimer, this is my story. I was 20 years old, I moved to LA. I was trying to make friends as quickly as possible. Good friends, not backstabbers. At my new job, I met this girl, and she was kind of similar to me, but she was the type of person that trusted everybody. Right away, she started trusting me. She was just really kind. Started hanging out outside of work. And it was really nice because she liked to cook and so did I. She would come over to my place and we would make some food and just watch movies. After a couple of weeks, I met her fiance, and I hated him right away. All he did was stare at me. What do you do when you meet your bestie's fiance and all he does is stare at you? It's disgusting. At first I thought he was kind of joking, but then I realized he was being super serious. He was trying to make cute eyes at me. So after that, I would never look him straight in the eye. I knew that's what he wanted, so I just wouldn't do it. That's when I started being really vigilant. I started noticing every single little red flag about him. One day my bestie invites me over to a barbecue at her place, and after a couple of hours, I wanted to leave. Everyone at this point had had so many drinks, I was the only person that was sober. I go into her bedroom and I find her with her sister. Part 2 is up. I told my best friend that her fiance was cheating on her and she did not believe me. Disclaimer, this is my story time. I walk into their bedroom and I see her fiance with my best friend's sister. What I actually saw was just him kissing her neck. But why is your fiance kissing your sister's neck? And as soon as they saw me, they freaked. They jumped up really quick. He ran out of the bedroom and then he just stared at me like he always does, just staring. I ran to my bestie and I told her everything. By the way, everyone at this point had had so many drinks. I was actually the only sober person at this party. What happened next was a nightmare. My bestie turns to me and tells me to leave the party. She told me that I was just jealous of her relationship, that I was projecting on her. She throws my purse at me and I leave. I cried so much, I was mortified. She was so desperate to make her relationship work. Okay, by the way, her sister actually lived with them at the time. This girl had no money and no job. My best friend supported her in every single way possible. Her and I obviously didn't speak after that until 6 months later. She called me on the phone in tears. Then she tells me she finds out her sister is pregnant. Her fiance is leaving her for her sister, and they are kicking her out of her apartment, the one she paid half for. I remember this because he actually followed me on Instagram 2 days ago. Did I be petty? Healthcare sister out.
My husband wants me to quit my job because of a customer. I, female 41, have been married to my husband, male 36, for about 2 years, together for 5, and we have 2 children, 2 and 3. I run a cafe with my sister, and it's located in a very popular neighborhood with lots of office workers. There's also some type of day center. I'm not sure if it's the right terminology, but this day center is for people with different kinds of disabilities. They do simpler types of work. There's a boy, or maybe he's around 25 to 30 male, with Down syndrome that works there. Every morning, his taxi drops him off at 7:30, and he comes to our cafe and takes breakfast and coffee and sits at the same table facing my workstation. He doesn't say much, just smiles and asks how I'm doing and what my plans are. He refuses when my sister or one of the girls helps him. It must be me. If I'm busy, he waits until I'm available. Then he starts his day at 8. We close at 4 p.m. and at 3:30 he comes in and sits at the same table until his taxi comes around 4, and I usually give him a soda or a smoothie on the house. Apparently when I'm not working, he gets very confused, stays for a while without understanding that I'm not there, and then leaves without eating. My sister and her wife were invited to dinner with me and my husband. I was homesick the week before, so she was laughing and telling us about the boy and how he refused to be served by anyone else and just waited outside for me. My husband was very confused, so my sister explained everything about this customer. My husband was silent for the rest of the dinner. When they went home, he asked me why I never told him about this customer and that he thought that this guy was being disrespectful. Asked if he knew that I was married. I was confused as to why he would say something like that. Then he became angry because I said that he had Down syndrome, and he meant that there are functioning people with this syndrome and that I was being prejudiced, not him. I told him that I was aware of that, but this boy in question seemed to appear to be much younger, and when he started, one of the people working in the day center noticed his behavior and came to check and see if he was making us uncomfortable, and he explained that he had a mind of an 8-year-old and is a creature of habit. At the time, I told him that he was a very polite and pleasant to have as a customer. My husband wasn't happy about it. Next week, my husband showed up at 7:30 and took the exact table that the boy usually takes. When he came in, he was very flustered and didn't know what to do, so he just stood near my workstation with his sandwich and his coffee in hand. I asked him if he wanted me to help him find another table, but my husband was very angry and told the boy to respect me because I'm a married woman and not to come and stare at me again. The boy apologized and he just left and waited outside all confused. I was heartbroken and begged my husband to go and apologize and to leave the table because the boy is a creature of habit and doesn't really like changes. He said that he didn't care because obviously he's in love with me. My sister told my husband about how I got a Valentine's card last year. When I got home, my husband said that he makes good money and we don't need my income. He had contacted my sister to get her to take over my share of the cafe because I didn't need to work. He said he was most disappointed because I never told him about my customer or the card he'd given me, so I must have thought it was out of line. But it wasn't like that at all. It's just that I get hundreds of customers every day and I don't have to tell my husband about all of them. He said that it wasn't the same as someone who's in love with me, being in my cafe every day and sometimes when I'm alone. So what should I do?
Am I wrong for inviting my fiance's younger sister to our wedding? I, 25 female, am engaged to my fiance, 32 male. We've been dating for 4 years before getting engaged last year. We've always gotten along well with each other's families and celebrated holidays together. Both of our families were happy when we announced our engagement. I recently found out that my fiance actually has a 15-year-old younger sister, let's call her Anne, who I never met despite her living at her parents' and me visiting often. When I asked about her during a family dinner, they glared at me and coldly said I shouldn't mention her and that I should just forget about her. The intense response kind of shocked me, so I dropped the subject. But I tried to talk about it with my fiance after we got home. He brushed it off and said that Anne doesn't want to be a part of the family, so she's not allowed to join any family events or gatherings until she decides to talk to them. Maybe because I'm generally a curious person, but something just felt off. Even at my fiance's parents' home, there are pictures of their children everywhere, but there's not a single picture of Anne. A few days ago, I contacted Anne, saying I love to get to know my future sister-in-law. We met up in a cafe and she's such a sweet girl, but it turned out she's mute. She can hear, but just can't talk. Her parents got it into their heads that she's able to talk but chooses not to, because there's no way a child of them would have a disability. So they excluded Anne from the family until she talks. We talked. I talked, she wrote, I don't know sign language, and I feel really sorry for her. I invited her to my wedding, telling her that I'd love to see her there. When I later told this during a family dinner with my fiance's family, they blew up, telling me how I dared to talk to Anne and to revoke my invitation, because if Anne doesn't want to talk to them, she doesn't deserve to be a part of the family and shouldn't be allowed to join in family events. They told me I shouldn't stick my nose in their family business. My fiance sided with his parents, telling me to just forget Anne exists and to apologize to his parents. This angered me because I thought my fiance would have my back, and I yelled at them that I'm not going to uninvite her and that she deserves to be treated better. Since then, my fiance has been constantly telling me that I'm behaving like a child throwing a tantrum and to apologize to his family for my behavior. I just can't accept the way Anne is treated. It also made me worry if we end up having children, would my fiance treat our child the same if they end up with a disability of some kind? Some of my friends are also saying that I should just let it go and not overreact so much. That every family does things their own way, so I should just apologize and do as they tell me to prevent my relationship from suffering. All I gotta say is that if you have a child with this family and your child has some sort of disability or anything, imagine the same treatment happening to them. This whole family is a red flag. What the heck? I feel bad for Anne. I wish you could help her more, but that is crazy.
My wife showed her friends our sex tapes. My wife and I have been together for 7 years, married for 2. We have a healthy and active sex life. One thing we like to do is just record ourselves. Nothing fancy, just our phones in the moment. We have a shared cloud server that we send it to. That way we can watch it on our phones and other devices without it being saved on our phones. We sometimes like watching them together, or we both travel somewhat frequently for work and watch it then. My wife has a very active group of friends that she spends a lot of time just all hanging out, chatting, and drinking wine. A typical girls' night in. They usually meet at our house, so I usually go downstairs to play games or sometimes go out with my friends. They tend to get loud when they get drunk, and whenever I don't have something playing in my headphones, I can hear them. A common topic is their sex lives. It made me feel weird at first hearing my wife and her friends talk about our sex life, but I remember that I used to talk about my sex life with my friends when I was younger. However, the other night, I heard whooping and cheering, so I crept up the stairs to see the commotion. My wife was playing some of the sex tapes on the TV for all to see. I went back downstairs and stayed down there until they were ready for me to drive them home. Usually there's some satirical cheers and such from her friends when I walk up the stairs and grab the keys. This time, a couple of them did wolf whistle, which they've never done before, and one said, "Way to go, stud." My wife shushed them and decided to come along when I dropped them off. There was a lot of drunk giggling in the car. After I got home, I wanted to talk to my wife about what I saw, but I thought she was too drunk to have a serious conversation with. We went to bed and she tried to engage, but I told her I was too tired. The next afternoon, when she was sober and less hungover, I asked her why she showed our videos to her friends. She got a deer in headlights look on her face. She then said that they were just having a good time and she told them about our collection and they started to beg to see them, so she obliged. I told her those were private videos and she said that we never said that we couldn't show them to others and it's not like she sent them to files. I think she could tell that I didn't like that answer and she'll make it up to me and she tried to engage. I backed up and said that I was going for a drive. I texted her that I was hanging out with some buddies for the day. When I got home that night, I set up camp on the couch and have been sleeping there the past couple nights. I don't think this is a call for divorce or anything. I'm just upset that she violated my trust, and even though we never had an agreement, I just thought it was implied. I'm also upset since she didn't apologize until I started sleeping on the couch and that she originally tried to engage instead of apologizing when we first talked. So what should I do?
I almost married the wrong man. Story time. Disclaimer, this is my story time. 11 years ago, I was set to marry a man that I'd only known for 6 months. As some of you might know, I am an actress, and that's how I met him. We were both cast in the same film as boyfriend and girlfriend. And because of this, the director wanted us to spend time together and create chemistry. The director even asked us to rehearse some of our kissing scenes, which really we only rehearsed one time. Was it awkward? Absolutely. But spending so much time together during rehearsals really did it. It's kind of hard to not develop feelings for somebody that you're working with who just happens to be attractive and you're supposed to be developing this chemistry. A few weeks later, we were dating. A few months later, we decided to move to LA together to pursue our acting dreams. But soon after we moved to LA, the cracks started showing. I am the poster child for a go-getter. I'm a hustler. I will do everything in my power to chase my dreams. His motivation was not the same. While I had 4 jobs, he had 1 job. I was paying for the bills. I was even paying for his student loans. He was sending out emails and submitting both of us to projects. Are you angry yet? Because it gets worse. I was his provider in every sense of the word. Part 2 is up. I almost married the wrong man. Story time. Disclaimer, this is my story time. I was paying for the bills, providing for him, even paying off his student loans. I also cooked for him, and I also helped him by trying to find him acting jobs. I was the best possible fiance he could have ever asked for. Around that time, I decided to quit some of my jobs. I transitioned over to working at a dancing club as a cocktail waitress. And this is around the time that I asked him if he could get a higher paying job. At the time, he was working at a movie theater. He was making $8 an hour, and to him, this was enough. It was enough because I was paying for the rest. And when I wanted to quit my jobs, he was against it. Why do you think? I felt like his bank account, like a debit card he could swipe every time he needed money. He would take and I would give. So when I asked him to consider getting a better job, he told me that he didn't want to because his best friend worked at the movie theater he worked at. He was comfortable. He loved his job. It was an easy job for a man. I got to watch all the free movies I wanted. What more could I ask for? Partner that would help me? No, that was too much to ask for. But can you believe that it actually does get worse? Part 3 is up. I almost married the wrong man. Story time. Disclaimer, this is my story time. When I asked him to get a higher paying job so he could help me out with the bills, he flat out said no. His job at the theater was too cozy. And a few weeks later, I experienced something horrible at the dance club that I was working at, which made me reflect on every choice I had made up until that point. I left my family to move away with somebody I didn't know, to a new city, thousands of miles away. I left my mom with major depression. To this day, I still hold so much guilt for that. And I told my fiance about the essay that I experienced at the club. His response was for me to get over it. When I told him I wanted to quit, he said no. How dare I try to quit the job that was providing for him? I broke up with him 2 days later, only to fall into an even more toxic relationship. But that's for another time. Self-care sister out.
Am I wrong for kicking my mom out of my house after she berated my girlfriend for accidentally farting? I'm really torn on this and need some perspective. So my girlfriend and I have been together for 2 years and we recently moved in together. So my mother, who I have a close relationship with, came over for dinner to see our new place. Everything was going well until my girlfriend excused herself to go to another room. She tried to leave discreetly, but unfortunately she couldn't make it in time and accidentally farted in front of everyone. I could tell that she was mortified, but before I could even say anything or comfort her, my mother chimed in. She called my girlfriend disgusting and a douchebag, going on about how she needs to be a real woman and be ladylike. I was in shock and my girlfriend was on the verge of tears. I asked my mother to apologize, but she doubled down and said she was only saying the truth. I couldn't take it and told her to leave the house and she left, but not before telling me I was disrespectful. Now she's super upset. I asked my mother to apologize, but she doubled down and said she was only telling the truth, so I asked her to leave. She called me disrespectful but did leave, and now my grandpa and my dad are saying I overreacted. But my grandma is on my side. I believe in treating my girlfriend with respect, and I don't want anyone in the home that can't do the same. Edit number 1 says thanks for the replies. My girlfriend and I are going low contact with my mom for the time being. What my mom did was completely out of character and unacceptable and wrong. And the reason I'm not going no contact is my younger brother still lives with her and he's a minor. Major update, my girlfriend just broke down in tears when laying in bed. My mom had been making horrible remarks to my girlfriend for the past several months without me knowing. I'm not going to type those things in the post, but these things were degrading and horrific. But she never told me because she didn't want to upset me. That's just so sad, y'all. I almost want to cry.
Asshole for not telling my wife just how much my late wife left our children. I was married to Sammy for 8 years and we have 2 children together. Delaney, now 18 female, and Finn, now 17 male. Sammy had been born with a serious heart defect that was left undiagnosed for many years. It was during her pregnancy with our daughter that she learned about this. though some health issues over her life had been a sign that was ignored by doctors. During her pregnancy with our son, she went into total heart failure, and between one thing or another, she realized she could not get another heart in time. Sammy came into some money a few years before her death. We had always talked about that going towards our kids' college expenses. And when she realized it was unlikely she would live long enough to see them pass kindergarten and first grade, she asked me how I would feel about her parents being in charge of the money. My family is not good people, and our concern was always if the money was left with me and something happened to me, my family would find a way to get their greedy paws onto it. They would have spent that money without a second thought for their grandchildren, niece, and nephew, and in all likelihood would have left them with nothing. So I said yes. Sammy's death came way too soon, but she was peaceful in the end. 4 years later, I met my current wife, Nat, and after 2 years relationship, we got married. Nat has 2 girls who are 14 and 12. When Nat and I sat down to discuss finances, college funds, etc., I told her that Sammy had left our kids some money, never disclosing exactly how much, and just mentioned that we would not need to save for the kids' college. It was different with her girls. Her ex, their father, had stolen the money Nat saved for the girls, so we started saving together, but it was not a lot. When Delaney told me she wanted to go to college and that she was strongly considering community college, I sat both her and Finn down and told them about the money. I told her it was not to pressure her, but if she wanted to go away for college, there was money available. Delaney chose to keep the money for a house in the future, and Finn mentioned he would likely do the same with his share. Delaney mentioned in front of Nat over the summer, and Nat was confused by her comment about buying a house. She asked how much money it was, and she was furious with me when Delaney told her. She said I should have disclosed just how much my kids had access to. I asked her why. It was their money. It had nothing to do with her. She said I was too vague and I should have trusted her as my wife. There has been tension between us since. Mighty asshole. No, you're not. She feels entitled, like entitled to split that money because they're family now. No, you're not the asshole, and I think you did the right thing. She's upset because she feels like this could have given her kids something, and she feels the entitlement towards that money. You are not the asshole at all. And if anything, she's going to start with that guilt tripping to try and corner you into pressuring your kids to give the money that's your kids, and that's exactly how you kept it. She's giving off the same mentality that you were trying to keep the money away from. Exactly. No.
I got back at my cheating boyfriend by flirting with my dad. Story time. So me and Steve were dating for a few months before I started to suspect that he was cheating on me. He would very often hide his phone and be unavailable at the most random times. And then when I'd ask him where he'd been, he'd have no explanation. So one night when he was staying over at mine, I looked over and I could see Steve talking to a girl on Facebook Messenger. Which, come on Steve, we've moved on from Facebook Messenger now, babe. So I knew that Steve was in a Facebook group for bikers. And I thought that is the perfect place to get revenge. So I created a fake profile. I used a profile picture that I generated using AI. Next thing you know, I'm accepted into the group. I was going mad, sending friend requests to everyone in this group to make it look more real. And then to make it look like I actually gave a shit about motorbikes, I just posted some random pictures that I found on Google. And what do you know? Less than a week later, I get messages from Steve. He started the conversation by saying he'd literally never seen a more beautiful biker in his life and that he wanted to meet up with me. And I just thought I'd see how far he goes, so I told him that I had a boyfriend, and he instantly replied that he had a girlfriend but nobody needed to know. And after that, it all got very explicit very quickly. I just went with the flow of it all because I was gathering evidence. And then whilst all this was going on, another guy called Nick messaged me. New character unlocked. He was also in this biker group, but his profile didn't have a picture of him on it. And his page was also set to private as well. He started off by asking how I'd been, and I replied just saying, well, I found my boyfriend was cheating on me, so I'm pretty shit actually. And he responded so nice. He really built me up and encouraged me to leave him. So the next day, I confronted Steve with all of the evidence that I'd compiled from him cheating with me. And of course, he tried to put the blame on me. We ended up in a massive argument, and now he is blocked on everything. I ended up speaking to this biker stranger about it. This man was so attentive. He texted me every single morning, telling me to have a good day. And as the conversations went on, we started to get more and more flirty. We were adding spice, if you know what I mean. One day he asked me if he'd like to meet up with me. So we arranged to meet in a little cafe at the weekend.
and I was prepared to live my Bella Swan fantasy, you know, like riding on the back of a motorbike, feeling all dangerous. Okay, so let's fast forward to the weekend. I had already texted Nick and told him which table I was at in the cafe. So I'm sitting there feeling all cute or whatever, and I see a very familiar motorbike pull up in the car park outside. Nick then proceeded to walk in the door, and with his head down, he walked directly to the table I was sat at. So when he got to my table, he took his helmet off, and standing in front of me was my dad. And all he said to me before walking away was, "Please don't tell your mum."
Am I wrong for lying to family and friends about who's the infertile one between my wife and I? My wife, 32 female, and I, 32 male, have been married for 7 years, but we've been trying for a baby for the past 3. It has taken a toll on our marriage, and I admit that many times I have complained to family, friends, and coworkers about my wife's infertility. Well, what I thought was my wife's infertility. Maybe it is because we live in Utah, but whenever the idea of us being infertile came up, people just swarmed in giving my wife recommendations for fertility specialists. The talk was always, "Oh, my wife saw Dr. Whatever and we ended up having twins," or "Maybe your wife is just too stressed out." And I believed it because my wife contracted TB when she was 20 and volunteering in another country. Her primary care, who she saw when she was back home, just flippantly told her that TB could affect the genital area and prevent her body from housing a baby. We finally found a doctor who straight up told us that there was nothing wrong with her fallopian tubes or her endometrium. She suggested I get tested to see that I'm not the problem. The verdict comes back that I am the one with very low sperm count. I was so shocked and went to get another opinion which told me the same thing. I felt so shaken, and because a lot of people knew about our struggles, they also knew we went to a doctor again. At a family and friends gathering, people started asking me about what we found out, and I just panicked and said that my wife's TB was likely the cause, but not 100% necessarily. People saw that as my wife being the problem, and somebody even suggested I go through with divorcing her since I was 32 and complaining about being pregnant. People saw that as my wife being the problem, and somebody even suggested that I go through with divorcing her since I was 32 and complaining about being childless, saying I could be a dad of 3 years since it was a short marriage. What I did not realize was that my mom and my aunt would jump on that suggestion and start telling friends and their kids that I was getting a divorce, and that this was my wife's fault because she shouldn't have been so reckless when she was young. Wow! What was worse was some people thought it wasn't even TB, but a bacterial genital disease. This all got back to my wife through a friend, and she's furious. She said that she could not believe I've been painting her as a problem when she wasn't even the problem, and that she was tired of the pitying or disappointing look she was getting in our small town, and that I needed to set the record straight or at least tell everybody to shut up and that we are not divorcing. Am I the asshole here? I panicked and I felt like I didn't completely lie because TB could be exacerbating our problem. But my mom really screwed things up by making it malicious. Now I'm in over my head and I feel really bad. Honestly, this is what... Keep your business!
Am I the asshole for not saying anything about the underwear? My 20-year-old daughter and her fiance are currently staying with us. I love my daughter, but she is very difficult and I can't stand her fiance. I gave them a deadline to move out because I can't take this anymore. They got into a massive fight the other day while my wife was out. I guess a pair of my wife's underwear got in with their laundry and she thought he was cheating. I think the fact she immediately jumped to cheating shows how bad their relationship is. She was waving the underwear around, and I recognized them because they had a floral print, but I just let this ridiculous fight go on. My wife came home after about 30 minutes and said they were hers. My wife asked if I didn't realize they were hers, and I accidentally laughed. My daughter burst into tears and won't talk to me. Her fiance said we're fucked and left the house, but my wife thought it was funny. Am I the asshole for not waking up my girlfriend for her exam after I overheard her calling me a little bitch? My girlfriend has online summer courses, and she had an exam for one of them this morning. I usually wake her up for pretty much everything because she sleeps through her phone alarm no matter how long it buzzes or how many she sets. She has joked that I'm her butler before, and within the context of a relationship, it's okay, so I didn't mind. Obviously, I want to love my partner and try to make her life easy. However, last night she was chatting with her friends and she thought I couldn't hear. She was bragging that I'm her little bitch and I do everything for her when she tells me to, etc. It really hurt my feelings because they were making comments like, "Good, put him in his place," and she was agreeing. She specifically said, "Yeah, I'm not worried about tomorrow because the bitch will make sure I'm up and he'll probably have breakfast ready for me too." I went to bed pretty hurt by it, and come morning, I didn't bother to wake her up when her alarm started to go. She usually only gets up when someone physically shakes her, but I let her turn off her alarm and she slipped back into sleep, and I turned around and went back to sleep too. When she woke up, she was yelling at me saying I'm an asshole and I've cost her her exam and I'm a piece of shit for what I did.
Am I wrong for asking that my husband not share pictures of us? Friday night, my husband, 28 male, and I, 26 female, went to a nice dinner hosted by my husband's company. The dinner was mainly to celebrate the great year he and his team had, so he was basically the center of attention. I purchased a new white dress for the night. When I put it on before we left, my husband told me that the dress was practically see-through and left nothing to the imagination. I looked in the mirror and he seemed to be exaggerating, so I told him that it wasn't nearly as noticeable as he was making it out to be. You could sort of see the outlines of my bra, but everyone wears underwear, and unless someone was deliberately looking, it wasn't an issue. We went back and forth for a bit. I didn't have any other dresses that fit me, as I recently gained a bit of weight and haven't had a need to dress formal. He said he'd rather me dress more casual than wear that. After a bit of back and forth, he gave in and I wore it. We went to the dinner. I got to meet a lot of his coworkers and bosses. It was lovely. Afterwards, he wanted to make a post on social media about the night and asked me to choose which pictures to include. I saw the pictures of me and my jaw dropped. The flash on the camera and lighting in general made my outfit way more revealing than it looked in the mirror at home. You can see every roll, every freckle. It leaves almost nothing to the imagination. I was completely embarrassed and told my husband not to post them. He told me that he has no pictures of him without me, so there's not really much he could post from the night. I asked him to Photoshop my outfit a bit to make the dress less revealing, and he said that he doesn't know how to do that. After an argument, I won, and he agreed not to make the post, but he said he still wants to send some to his parents directly. And I'm sorry, but none of them look flattering. They make me almost look naked. He said since his coworkers and bosses saw me like that, he should at least be able to show his parents as well. I feel like since my husband agreed that the dress was too revealing, he should be understanding that I don't want him sharing pictures of it with the family. His coworkers and bosses are one thing. I never have to see them again, but family is family. He thinks that I'm not being fair. In his words, I insisted on wearing the dress, and now I'm preventing his family from seeing pictures because of it. It's now Sunday morning and he's still not giving in. I want to just forget about the whole thing and move on. He seems to really want to share pictures of the night. I'm not sure what to do, whether I should give up and tell him to send it anyway to put it behind us, or whether I should stand up for myself. So, am I the asshole for asking him not to share pictures of us? I feel like because the event was about him, you should have listened to his opinion and didn't throw a fit. And if he didn't like the outfit, you should have just listened and gave in because you care about him and wanted him to look nice for the night.
Okay, question for the group chat. Am I the arsehole for not making my sister-in-law a bridesmaid? So me and my sister-in-law have never clicked. This is despite me trying over and over again to build our relationship. But things went downhill when she started randomly blocking me on social media. But now me and my fiancé are planning our wedding. Congratulations, girl. I've decided that I do not want her as a bridesmaid. I don't bloody blame you. My fiancé is fully supporting my decision, but now my mother-in-law is sending him patronising text messages. Am I wrong? Girl, I personally do not think you are wrong at all. It's your wedding, you can do what you want. And those bridesmaid spots are precious. I think it would be good to know why she's blocking you though, because clearly there's something going on there. And I also get why the mum wants her to be involved in the wedding as well, but again, your wedding, your rules. Like, does the mother-in-law even know the full truth? But no, baby, you are not the arsehole. So I wanted to start this little thing where you guys can send in your questions for the group chat. I've been doing it on my Instagram stories for a while, and I thought I'd bring it over to my besties on TikTok. So basically, you can either comment your question, or if you want to remain anonymous, you can message me with sort of this setup. So you need to put QTFGC. So questions to the group chat at the start, and then that's how I'll know it's for this. Sometimes we just need that girl advice, do you know what I mean? You can literally do anything, like the one the girl has sent in, like a real life situation, or just a general question. Some of the ones I've done on my Instagram so far are how long is a long-term relationship, like 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. Another one was you're going away for 7 days, how many pairs of pants are you taking? Just all the questions that you want an answer to but you don't want to ask. So ask your questions to the group chat in the comments, or feel free to message me.
Would I be the asshole if I don't change my son's name, even though it may cause him to lose an inheritance? Yes. Yes. Oh, hell yeah. I, 24, got pregnant while I was taking a gap year traveling. I met an older guy. Nothing gross. I was 19, he was 23. We had fun. I was working in a bar to make money while I explored his city. Get it, girl? Whole life or no life, guys. Whole life or no life. When I got pregnant, he lost interest really quickly. I understand, but I am pro-choice, and I chose not to terminate. I went home and had my son. I also made sure to get child support. He could afford it. He did fight it, though. I had to prove paternity and everything. I think that's valid. If you want child support, you gotta prove that kid is yours. You gotta prove that's valid. Through that, his parents found out. They are well off. They have met my son, and they truly do seem to love him. They have provided gifts for his birthday and Christmas. They helped me with extra money so I could complete my university without going into debt. They have taken us on vacation with them so they could spend more time with him.
They aren't my biggest fan, but we are cordial to each other. I feel like that alone is enough. Like, you're an asshole. Just change your last name, dude. You're gonna end up costing your son, like, a better future because you want him to have your last name. 3 months ago, my son's father passed away. He got drunk at his bachelor party, tripped on the sidewalk, and hit his head. My son and I attended the funeral. We spent a week in that city so his grandparents could see him. They approached me with an offer. They have no other children or grandchildren. Their son was only 28, so he had lots of time to provide them legitimate kids. They did not say this, I'm just assuming. You know what they say about assuming? It makes an ass out of you and me. So they never thought about my son's name. They said that if I changed his surname to theirs legally, they would make him their primary heir. I think this is dumb. He is their only grandchild, and they would deny him an inheritance because of his last name. If you think it's dumb, why not just do it? Like, they've already shown you they're willing to be in your kid's life. I said I would consider it to be polite and have left it at that. I actually have a pretty good life as it is. My family has been very supportive, and because of the whole court thing, my son's father had to have life insurance with him as the beneficiary. Would it be nice for my kid to get a big sum of money? Yes. Do I want him to have the surname of a man who didn't want him, see him, or love him? No. I have been talking to my family about it, and a few of them think I'm being an asshole for giving up this kind of money for my son. It is generational wealth, and I'm making the decision based on emotion. I think they are assholes for thinking money is the only thing that matters. And I think you're an asshole for not thinking about your son. Like, it's not about you anymore, it's about what kind of a life you can provide your son. And that could take a whole load off of him. It could be the difference between him choosing to go to a state college and like an Ivy League, if he chooses to. You're taking away a lot from him in that. I get, but life insurance money only goes so far. I think I will tell my son's grandparents they can talk to him about it when he is 16. He will be old enough to understand the implications, but young enough to not be tied professionally to his last name. No. Change the last name. That's it. Give him the money. If later on in the future he chooses he wants to have your last name, he can choose it back. But no. Change the name.
Love of my life cheated on me for 7 years. So today I left him with a little parting gift. Story time! I met the love of my life 7 years ago, and I very quickly realised that Steve was the one for me. I very quickly started envisioning our potential relationship together and what our life would look like. Throughout our relationship, Steve would often reach out to me to ask for money, and it was often because he was having car trouble or he couldn't pay a bill, and I would literally always help him. That is not the right colour. I just saw it as us making an investment into our life together. In all, I probably gave him about 15 grand. And after 4 years of being together, Steve popped the question. So about 6 months into our marriage, Steve was telling me that he was having car trouble. Sorry, why am I unable to match my foundation? And he said that he needed about 2 grand for the repair this time. And this struck me as really odd. By this time, I knew his car as well as I knew my own. So one night when he was asleep, I went out to check what was up with his car, or what he told me was up with his car, and lo and behold, what he said was wrong. There was no sign of it. And at this point, I started to spiral. So I have never done this before, but I went on Steve's phone. And I typed in £2,000 into his messenger to see what would come up. And straight away, up popped a text from him and his ex. And it turns out the ex, Amy, was also having car troubles, and she'd reached out to him to ask for some money. So I started to go back and read messages, and they went back for years. She would often ask Steve for money that he would just happily send her. And it worked out that these were the exact same amounts he was asking me for. I had become a sugar mom for my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. So over the next couple of weeks, I started the revenge. When Steve would go to sleep, I'd start texting Amy off his phone, and I'd talk about plans to leave me, aka his wife. And I basically got it to the point where Amy was convinced that I was leaving and they were going to get back together. And every time I went on his phone, I would be sure to delete the text messages so that Steve would have no idea. This whole process went on for months. I slowly watched their text feed up between the two of them until it looked like Steve was pretty much set on leaving me. We didn't have many assets together at the time because I was finishing my surgical residency, so I knew that the divorce would be kind of quick and painless, to be fair. So the time came when I filed for divorce. I was very generous with our $10,000 worth of assets, and we split it evenly. But I decided that I wanted a little bit more. Because you see, not only is it assets that are divided up equally during a marital severance, but debt is as well. A medical school is very expensive, and if you want to get precise, it's $250,000 expensive. So since I was the one to pay for your mistress for years, you can now pay for my medical school. Enjoy my parting gift, babe.
Was I almost human trafficked, or was I just being paranoid? I went to a concert in Detroit and met a young girl. She was 17, I am 20. I was standing alone by the wall, and she walked up to me and started being really friendly. She was alone and claimed to not know the band and said she wasn't with the people she came with because they were annoying. She complimented me, called me pretty, asked how old I was. She asked if I wanted to hang out after the concert. She was trying to take pictures of me, said it was for Instagram. She had burn marks and cuts on her calves. It looked like someone put a cigarette out on her. She was talking about how she wanted to have sex with someone and pointed out some guys and called them money-worthy. She said she was hungry and asked if I wanted to walk to McDonald's with her. I was just happy someone was talking to me, but my body was trembling and I knew I shouldn't go anywhere with her. After I rejected letting her take pictures of me or going anywhere with her, she left me and I didn't see her again all night. It was weird. Was she a recruiter, or did I just miss out on making a new friend? What does money-worthy mean? I secretly wish that my cousin wasn't related to me so I can date him. I'm currently 19 female, he is 22 male, and the most beautiful person on the planet, both inside and out. We first met when I was 16, and I had an instant crush on him. I didn't know about him, but when he turned 21 and our family went out to drink, he told me in secret that I was the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen. Although I was so happy, I knew better than to do anything, and then chalked it up to him being drunk. The next day, he sent me the text, "Drunk talks are sober thoughts," and that he didn't regret telling me that. Now, we have this weird thing where we meet up, talk, and pretend like we're a couple, after we drive away far from our hometown and drive back home low-key disgusted with ourselves. Every family meeting is super awkward because we're paranoid our parents can sense what we're doing and we act super distant. They have no clue though. I wish I could just turn this off because I know it's wrong, but I can't. I sent an application for a college out of state, so maybe I can get out of this situation. I know this might gross people out, but I just needed to get this off my chest. Help for an old guy. I'm a widower who is approaching 80. My wife died about a year and a half ago. We were married for over 50 years and I miss her very much. I live in a large retirement community and I've recently received a note from a woman who lives here who told me she is done with me. I barely know this woman. We have had dinner twice. Once I was assigned to a table where she was sitting, and once she asked me to have dinner with her. I accepted. I suspect now that was a mistake. I'm not ready for a new relationship, and frankly, I doubt I ever will be. I think about my late wife every day. Sometimes I think about her every hour. I do not believe that I'm depressed. I can carry on with my daily life pretty well, actually. I keep busy. I have family in the area, and I see them often. I manage my own affairs, and I have other friends. I just do not want to deal with a female companion. I've been thinking of answering her note as politely as possible, explaining my situation, but I do not want to give her any hint that I'm trying to start a relationship. I just want to say I'm sorry if I offended her, but I meant no harm. It is just that I intend to go through life single from now on. Should I do this, or should I just ignore the letter and hope she goes away?